Another day at the FIFA World Cup 2026, day 5. All the matches ended up in the draw. 4 matches. Quite incredible. Incredible because this is the first time since 1958 and only the second time in the history of the World Cup that all the 4 matches played on a single day have ended up in a draw. It was also a day for the goalkeepers, delight for veterans, and then also the subject of a conversation about dribblers. Well, the goalkeepers were present, the dribblers not so much. We'll talk about all of that in today's edition of your World Cup VAR. Welcome. So the big talking point was European champions Spain's inability to break down a very organized Cabo Verde. That match ended goalless. We'll talk about that in just a bit. Uruguay, and most Ghanaians still swear that they hate Uruguay and would wish only the worst for them. Well, yesterday they had to do it the hard way, managing to snatch a draw against the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And then Egypt, who are still searching for their very first victory at the FIFA World Cup, came close to doing it, but big Romelu Lukaku came on and forced the issue and managed to get Belgium a point out of that game. And then New Zealand and Iran took their turn at the World Cup. Iran coming under a cloud of controversy. They're having to fly out of Mexico to play their matches in the United States of America. That match also ended all square. 2-2 was the final result. Now let's look at the big talking point, and it was all about goalkeepers. Vozinha, and it wasn't just about him, but he made 7 incredible saves to keep out Spain, who kept passing the ball in the final third, became frustrated because they simply could not break down this Cabo Verdean side. To the world, they looked as if, well, this was an incredible feat. But to those who have been watching African football for a while, they would know that there's a lot of consistency within this Cabo Verdean team, which has been together for a very long time, and they've been building up to this opportunity. And I dare say that on day 5 of the World Cup, nobody missed Cameroon, who had missed out on the World Cup because Cape Verde had taken the sole tickets in their group. For me, it evinced what a team can do practically at this World Cup. The Cabo Verdeans didn't do anything silly or anything fancy. The incredible stat was that despite having so little possession, they only conceded only 1 foul. But they were organized, they were stubborn, they knew what they were about, and never broke out of the discipline. And for me, that was key to getting that result against Spain. It's too early to write Spain off, although we have to note Spain has had struggles at the FIFA World Cup in recent years. But it's been a very long season. People forget that. And players are still having to reset as far as tournaments are concerned. So these teams are likely to grow into the tournament. For Cabo Verde, though, well, it's an incredible start. Whatever happens, nobody will judge them harshly if this is the only point that they pick. But there are realistic chances of making it to the next stage of the World Cup. And I'll give you an incredible stat from the 1994 World Cup to explain why this is just possible. But massive kudos to Vozinha and the incredible story about his Instagram page, which was around 40,000, having to shoot up to above 5 million and still counting. Now the world knows Cabo Verde, the world knows Vozinha, the world knows the other members of the Cabo Verdean team. It's a great day for Africa, and we wish them all the best as far as their progress to the next stage of the competition is concerned. So that was 1 for Africa. Africa was hoping to make it 2, minimum another point, but people were supporting Egypt going into their game against Belgium because this is a good Egyptian side, has more options than before when everything went through Mo Salah. And we're coming against a Belgian team that's had quite a mixed record in recent years. Well, for long spells of the game, the Egyptians looked like they were capable of winning. They spent a few gilded chances. And I dare say that eventually it was some level of naivety and inability to close out the game with good game management that cost the Egyptians. I guess at some point they just felt that the Belgians were there for the taking and they could go and score against them. And in one fell swoop, big Romelu Lukaku, it doesn't matter what's happening to him club form-wise, he is always a threat when he's on the pitch, and he managed to force the issue, and Egypt considered an own goal. So Egypt's search for that elusive goal at the World Cup continues as they prepare to go into their next match at the FIFA World Cup. Now, which other match we take? Let's look at Uruguay against Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. This was threatening to become the second successive tournament where Saudi Arabia has claimed the scalp of a major South American nation. Not that if Uruguay had lost, we would have expected that they would turn it around like Argentina and make it all the way to the final of the World Cup. But first half was dropped for the Uruguayans. Incredible work by the Saudi Arabians, who held on, and a bit like Cabo Verde, looked like they were going to be able to manage to get the result. But in the end, Araujo scored for Uruguay, who's and they got the point. It would have been a major shock to some, but for others, not so much, because of what Saudi Arabia has done in the past. At the last World Cup and in 1994, when they went on that incredible run at the FIFA World Cup. Final match of the game, of the day, was Iran parachuted into the United States of America under a hail of protest, controversy, and a team feeling largely oppressed. They managed to get a 2-2 draw against the Oceania representatives, New Zealand. This is a result that New Zealand will be happier about because of their recent record and the fact that they are seen as perhaps the weakest side in their group. For the Iranians, we know what they are capable of doing. Perhaps they should have won this game, although they then had to be the ones who come from behind to get the draw. So all said and done, an incredible day of draws. Now, I spoke about dribblers, and whilst the focus was on the goalkeepers, and shout outs to Mohamed Alo Owais of Saudi Arabia for his incredible 9 saves, beating the earlier high tally by Vozinha. And every single one of them was incredible, much to the chagrin and frustration of the Uruguayans, who kept pounding and pounding and simply could not find access to the Saudi Arabian goal. Now, one pattern that is emerging is that because this is the first match and some teams do not want to lose, rightfully so, there's a low block. They are very compact. We saw that with Saudi Arabia. We saw that also with Cabo Verde. The premium and the need for dribblers and players who can take on and complete dribbles is becoming higher and higher. For La Côte d'Ivoire, it was when Amad Diallo came on, he completed 6 dribbles, the most by a player in this tournament, and managed to unlock some of the clogged areas within the opposition half. And we are seeing the same thing. Spain were ready to risk Lamine Yamal and also risk Nico in order to unlock the Cabo Verdean defense. It didn't work, but it just shows you that teams that have these kind of players who can take on, players who can dribble, will have an X factor in this competition when the going gets tough and they really need to unlock defenses. And we saw that with some of the other results where teams just did not have a plan B, especially the big teams. We saw Vini doing that for Brazil. Uruguay could not come up with a similarly gifted player to be able to unlock and perhaps get the 3 points. But this is going to be a pattern in the tournament where when you face a low block team, you would need the kind of player that can help you unlock the defense. And the teams that have that will have a plan B in this competition. Now, just to put what has happened as far as the 4 draws in this World Cup on the last match day is concerned, and how that plays out in the standings at the end of the group stages. Remember that during the 1994 World Cup in the United States of America, there was an incredible scenario in Group E where all the teams finished with 4 points. This is a group that had Norway, had Italy, had Ireland, and had Mexico. Eventually came down to goal difference, and the Mexicans narrowly finished in first place, followed by Ireland in second place, with Italy finishing 4th, also on 4 points. Norway also finishing on 4 points. But it was the top 3, Mexico, Ireland, and Italy, who qualified for the next stage of the competition, with the Italians making it all the way to the final and missing out on the World Cup by just a penalty. So what it does mean in this tournament is that there are really great chances of teams qualifying with just 4 points, and you may have some of the biggest teams struggle to qualify. But this is not a sprint, this tournament. It's not a sprint. There are more matches being played in this tournament than before. And really the round of 32, it's almost like the commencement of a World Cup that is in knockout format. So let's not read too much into some of the points that have been dropped by some of the biggest teams early on in this tournament. The crucial thing is how teams build on that. And after the first games, when everybody's fenced and tested the opponents, teams will begin to open up because they need to find a result that guarantees their qualification to the next stage. And that's where we are going to have some really big matches. And the bigger teams that do not like to play against low blocks may find the spaces that they ideally would want to exploit in order to get the matches won, in order to win matches that take them towards their goal of winning this World Cup.